moving on to better Diamondbacks news. Ketel Marte named to the All-Star team. And of course, this is a beautiful moment. The Diamondbacks had a wonderful video on their social media of that moment. What's funny was I was texting with Jesse when that happened, and he got kicked out of the clubhouse so that they could have the moment with the team and not with a bunch of journalists like us. But anyway, it was delightful, and it's amazing. It's so great for Ketel. This is his second All-Star start and his second All-Star nomination. 4.4 WAR, 517 slugging, 871 OPS. These numbers are before tonight's game, so excuse me if they changed. He had 38 extra base hits, 50 RBIs so far this season, 166 total bases, and 11 defensive runs saved. Leads second base in the National League in most of those categories, especially in WAR. He is a top contender. I mean, his numbers put him in contention for MVP consideration this year. Ketel is having an incredible year, but to hear from Torey talking about how much missing out on last year meant to him and how much he wanted to be there with all of his teammates, it really sounded like it was a driving force as to why, we're seeing Ketel have the season that he's having.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like that type of stuff can inspire people, and he very much feels like he was a man on a mission from the start of the season. I mean, this is a Ketel Marte that you're talking about, like you said, an MVP candidate, Ketel Marte. Like All-Star game starter is a fantastic nod in its own right, but if by the end of the season he's also top 3 in MVP or winning the MVP, I mean, talking about one of the best seasons in Diamondbacks history at that point. And so this is just an extremely well-deserved nod for somebody that has worked so incredibly hard.
Yeah. Well, Ketel discussed, again, they had that video. Make sure to check out that video because it was touching, especially Torey saying, I know the manager, you're batting leadoff, and you will be starting at second base. There's moments like that you just realize how close this team is. You could see the emotion on Ketel's face. It was a very great moment. But here's what Ketel had to say before the game today.
Since last season, I felt a lot of support, not just the people from Phoenix, but people back home, just my whole country. I felt that support.
He also we've talked about this a lot, Jesse and I, but he never stopped during the off season. We saw a bunch of videos on like social media, I think posted to like his Instagram videos and stuff like that, where he kept it going. And I mean, this guy already had an incredible postseason. It feels like he never stopped, and he just kind of stayed in the groove even throughout the offseason.
Yeah, and that's how you do it with baseball. And what we've seen with so many players on the Diamondbacks this season are like these slumps, and especially for like Jordan Montgomery, right, who had an abnormal, preseason and lead up to the season, and how much that can really affect the rhythm of somebody. And it's so hard to find the fine line between doing too much in the off season and exhausting your body and not doing enough and falling out of rhythm. And it seems like whatever he was doing, however he was doing it, is that perfect balance, because he is just an incredibly complete baseball player. And he is not going through what a lot of other people on this team are going through, which are incredibly low lows and then really high highs or somewhere in between. For him, he's just steadily been really, really, really good. Yeah. And it's really consistently, and it's really nice to see. And not that it wasn't there before, but like, the love everybody's giving him and talking about, like, I want to see his number retired. I mean, like, we're going to be talking about it, one of the greatest Diamondbacks in franchise history. And this is just another thing to kind of add to that list. And you just hope that he can keep it going and be consistent for the rest of the season.
I purchased his jersey today.
As you
want to talk about me being a homer.
What a homer.
There's a
what an absolute homer.
As much as I can, right? I am absolutely a homer, but and it's because I realized that, like, I've realized in how much we talk about him on the show that Ketel is my favorite baseball player to watch. If you were to ask me that, there's a lot of guys around the league I like. Some I would bring up on the show, but I'm not allowed to because it's just going to further the hate that you brought towards me for the thing I said about Christian Walker earlier. But there's just a lot of guys I like watching around the league I find to be fun players. When I really think about it, Ketel Marte is one of the most enjoyable players to watch. Just his demeanor, right? He's not like a guy that's like barking at the umpires all the time or always arguing with the calls. He lets them know. he makes some funny facial gestures when he feels like the umpire's wrong, but like he's like one of the most unintentionally funny people. He's just out there truly being himself, having a good time with the opposing players when they come over to second base. You know, you always see Ketel hugging guys. You always see him pretending like he has the ball in his hand and messing with them and trying to catch him, you know, like slipping like they're, you know, he does like a fake throw all the time where he still has the ball in his hand and he hits them. Like that stuff I love. And I just love watching him play baseball because not only is he so incredibly good at it, he just seems to love the game so much. He loves it, and he loves it in a way where you can see him while he's playing it, just really enjoying himself. Right. So this is special. I mean, this is something that we thought that this was a no-brainer. Feels like a no-brainer based on the stats that I read there. Of course, even his closest competition, Luis Ariz, isn't even really a second baseman. So it felt like this was something that was inevitable to happen. It's just great that it did. And it's great that he will be there with Torrey in Arlington. We will be there in Arlington as well.